Eric, did tonight's SmackDown from Saudi Arabia give you any clarity or cause you to shift your confidence, if you had any, in who was going to win the men's Royal Rumble, which was the primary focus?
Not even a little bit. I don't think I had a lot of clarity coming into this night, and I have even less now. And, part of it is that Roman Reigns wasn't there, and any potential surprises weren't there. No Obafemi involved. That to say, I still did think it was an effective show to promote the Rumble event.
Yeah, Kelly Wells and I talked earlier in the week on the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Podcast flagship. It's an audio-only show, so if you're discovering us on YouTube, you want to subscribe, search Wade Keller, listen to the flagship. Kelly Wells is the biggest Royal Rumble fan. He covers NXT and New Japan for PWTorch for many years, but we always want to talk the Royal Rumble when Royal Rumble season comes around, and we did a show talking big picture about the Royal Rumble, and then also went into this year's Rumble, and it was like almost impossible to hone in on, like, it's just obvious who's winning. But we did talk about the way the Rumble was hyped this year compared to past years being a bit different. We actually got the Tumblr showing up tonight. For one thing, we had a graphic saying Braun Breaker was entry number 1, which is interesting. That I don't think was supposed to go up, but who knows these days. It just flashed on the screen when someone pushed the wrong button, I assume. But what we did get is a graphic for the Rumble that showed 4 wrestlers at a time. And I'm just going to bring that up in case, because it's one of those things that flashes by and maybe people don't think about it. I'm not saying it's worth reading a ton into, but the main graph, the first 4 names were Obafemi, Cody Rhodes, Brock Lesnar, and Roman Reigns. And you would say, well, Roman, Cody, and Brock are 3 of the biggest names in the Rumble. Obafemi being on the list is their way of sort of, I think, flagging or signaling, think about this guy as if he's a big enough deal to share screen time with those 3 and knock off. I'm not sure who you would argue should go there. Otherwise, I will say that, because they put all of the Vision together. So, and that made sense, the 4 of them. So they were all together. So we didn't bump a super big name other than you could say Randy Orton, because Randy was part of the next crew, which was Randy Orton, Jey Uso, Jacob Fatu, and Javon Evans. And then they had also 3 mask guys, Ray Phoenix, Penta, and Rey Mysterio. Was it Rey Mysterio? Who's the third? Who's the other mask guy?
I think it had to be Mysterio, because they all were announced at the same time.
Yeah, and then Solo Sikoa. And then they showed Damian Priest with 3 blacked out images. So they're up to, I think it was 17 that they showed. So anyway, I don't want to make a ton out of it, but you can tell, like, of the names they announced, because as you said, Eric, there's going to be surprises and unannounced names. Those 4 might have been put there to make you think these are the 4 most likely to win. Right. In the Pro Wrestling Torch Insider cover story this week, here's the paper copy for people. There's a paper copy that it really exists in this age. And it's also available to read with a VIP membership, the digital PDF and the all text version. I wrote about who I thought, like, the top 2 contenders were and why, and some of the other dark horse candidates. So with that said, Eric, I brought up the Tumblr with Priest getting a number that doesn't look good, the Braun Breaker graphic. We had Roman, Cody, Brock, and Oba as the first 4 that they put on sort of the billboard of that match. And then we had the happenings in the match, the main event, which was Sammy, Cody, Randy, and Jay against the Vision. I know you said you didn't have any more clarity, but where are you in terms of, tonight didn't change your mind, but where are you in terms of who you think, like, the final few are going to be in the story that they're going to tell?
Sure. To me, it could go one of a couple ways. I think there's a strong possibility we get down to the final 6 being 4 of the Vision members and 2 baby faces. Not exactly sure who that might be. It could be Roman and Cody. It's hard to say. I had been thinking Obafemi had a real significant chance of actually winning this year, all week long. However, that is not the WWE's typical MO to let someone come in and win it like that. It really would be hard for me to convince myself that they would give Obafemi the win before they would give it to Braun Breaker, because Braun Breaker's been on that path longer on the main roster. But then, because of the way my brain works, I started thinking about last year when I never would have predicted that Jey Uso was going to win, and I realized everything was back on the table. So right now, I'm still torn between it being either Braun Breaker or Obafemi. That's where I've landed. I hope that they won't give it to either Roman or Cody. Neither of them needs it. I understand why they tend to have their biggest stars win them and that it sets them up for championship matches. But I think this would be a good year to give it to somebody else. One of the biggest themes that have been talked about, on these podcasts for the last 6 months is that there are not a lot of younger main eventers, and this would be a perfect time to make one. So I feel like whether it's Breaker or Obafemi, I feel like that would be the trigger that I would pull, but I don't know what they're going to do. And there's one wild card to me that I'm not even sure if he's still in the Rumble, and that's Gunther. I feel like he's still being advertised, but he's not in the graphic anymore. Yeah. And depending on what happens in his other match, who knows where this could go.
Yeah.
Curious what you think too, Wade.
Say that again.
I'm curious what you think too about this now.
Well, I wrote it in my newsletter. I'm not going to give away everything. No, I'll talk about what we saw tonight. In the newsletter, I focused on Roman and in Oba, and my thinking was I just don't think Braun Breaker's booking points towards him headlining WrestleMania. I think they would have done something. They would have focused on him differently in some of his more recent matches. And I think his year will be later, not yet. I feel like they're pushing him right to the brink. And we'll get into the Vision storyline in a second because Michael Cole on commentary brought something up that's sort of a talking point here. But I think Roman and Oba are the most likely. I'm kind of hoping for Oba because I think it's the most interesting story. Shooting someone in his late 20s to the top, challenges Drew McIntyre. That works. Doesn't make sense to go after CM Punk in a face-to-face situation. I think Oba's going to be a face, and I think Punk will probably be champion still. And then Drew and Jacob and Cody can just split off and have a triple threat match. Without a title involved. I think I'm accounting for everything. And then if Roman wins, he challenges Punk. And, I'm intrigued with how they tell that story. I think they both stay babyface. So that's kind of my short answer of the scenarios. I think Gunther Lesnar, there's been, speculation of Gunther, doing a match where he's vowing to retire Lesnar or whatever. We'll see how that plays out. So if you're wondering where Gunther ends up in all this, certainly a Gunther Lesnar match is big, and that would explain why they put Gunther over as strong as they did over Cena. Part of the reason is they want him strong to go against Lesnar. So I think, to me, that feels like the path of, I don't know if a path of least resistance, but like everything sort of, to me, falls into place when we play that scenario, those scenarios out in terms of it accounts for every major male star. I'm not counting Jay. I don't think they're prioritizing him. I don't think Randy could fit into the Cody, like it could turn into a 4-way with Cody. Go ahead. Yeah.
I would say if I can add to it, the one thing that had kind of steered me more towards Obafemi, despite Braun being on the main roster longer, is this new storyline of the Vision. I kind of thought that they were prepping for a Breaker versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania match if Seth is ready. And it made me wonder when on Monday night they talked about how the Vision, was it Logan Paul was the first one to say they were all unified and that they wanted Breaker to win it. To me, that was introducing maybe Seth's not going to be ready and something might happen during the Rumble where Logan throws out Breaker and we get a Braun Breaker versus Logan Paul match at WrestleMania. And Breaker starts a face turn. But I'm also wondering, and you mentioned Jey Uso, the one thing that's been on my mind about him is that a returning LA Knight could be a Jey Uso WrestleMania opponent if it's done well, because they had a lot going on before he left. And there was a lot of talk that Jey Uso might be turning heel. If they go a different way with that, LA Knight's a perfect opponent for him.
Yeah. Yep. You read right from my notes for where I was heading. I mean, it was, I think, since you said where I was kind of heading, I think I'll just say very astute analysis, Eric. I think the comment from Colder in commentary tonight, which is, if it comes down to Logan and Braun Breaker, do we really think Logan Paul will sacrifice himself and give up a WrestleMania main event? They've been playing that up. Logan is one who led the discussion on it. So to me, the Breaker, and I'm not in favor of the Vision breaking up, but I wouldn't mind, and I think it's a possibility, that the story going into WrestleMania isn't that the Vision broke up, but that Logan and Breaker fight because it's an intra-squad fight. They're upset over what happened at the Rumble. Paul Heyman is like, you guys fight it out, and they have a story in mind for how they tell that. And maybe Theory takes sides with Logan, Bronson Reed takes sides with Breaker. I think you can tell a story that doesn't lead to the Vision breaking up, because I'm not in favor of having anyone split off from that group yet. I think they're too freshly together. Also, the Seth Rollins X Factor. Powerhouse Hobbs probably debut in the Rumble. So there's some other names that could be thrown in the mix, but the Seth one, especially with the Vision, Eric.
Yeah. Well, and don't forget, if you want another or a Y factor, Brock Lesnar could easily get involved in that as well. He was there when it started, and he kind of just butted his way in as Heyman's more prolific client that Breaker didn't appreciate.
I think Breaker and Lesnar is on their radar for a match. So if they, I don't think they're going to do this. I think it would move faster than they're planning, but they could have Logan turn on Breaker in the match. Maybe everyone turns on Breaker, and they turn Breaker babyface. They just think, let's just pull the Mandate, so to speak. Lesnar kind of steps in and becomes maybe the dominant leader of the Vision. Maybe even Lesnar's part of it. Like, he instigates, or he's been working. So there's a way they could kind of tell that story, and then you would have Breaker as a babyface against Lesnar as a heel at WrestleMania, and then Gunther ends up maybe in a rematch with Styles if things take a turn in a different direction in the Styles-Gunther match tomorrow. That extends the match to WrestleMania or something like that. What we're showing in this discussion is there's going to be a lot of stories in the Rumble. If they book it right, we're not going to know what's going to happen until it happens. Yeah, I mean, my pick is Roman wins the Rumble or Oba wins the Rumble. The other goes on to win the chamber. Thank you. And the Elimination Chamber. And they find ways to get there. And I do think Roman versus Punk. Part of why I think it's Roman versus Punk, and I don't like when this happens, Eric, but I'm talking about how sometimes I think they don't book the best card. They book a card where there's like 6 or 8 priorities, and they start matching the priorities against each other. The people who have status to be main eventers, so to speak, the biggest singles matches. And I'm just talking about the men right now. So they go, okay, makes sense to have this guy against that guy, and that guy, and that guy in a triple threat. Oh, these two are left over, Roman and Punk. Well, we'll match them and figure out a story for them. Like, that's kind of how that feels to me. We can't not have Punk, and you can't not have Roman in the main event, but everybody else we got figured out with natural storylines. So we'll just make it work. And then they just make it work, but it's not obvious going in.
Right.
So,
it's funny you say that, because I distinctly remember following last year's WrestleMania. Within that first week, I was talking to my good buddy Scott, who I've been watching wrestling with since high school. And I had already said I thought that night 2 of WrestleMania this year would be Punk versus Roman, because at that point they had it already set up very well. But they've done nothing really with it other than the tease at War Games that ended in a way where it seemed like they weren't going that direction. But yeah, it's exactly like you said. It was there. They had it right there. They could have built it. They just haven't done it. And it makes me feel like, is it another one of those times where, just like with the Rumble, they feel like it sells itself now? They're like, oh, we can heat up Roman and Punk in 2 weeks if we need to. I mean, if you look at it, this Sami Zayn versus Drew McIntyre match, less than a week of build. You could pretend there was build there, but there really wasn't.
Yeah. And that's another thing, by the way. If Sami does win the title, throws a lot of things off. If he doesn't win the title, I still think they want Sami in something significant. We can table that for later. I want to throw a couple comments up from the chat that bring up another way that isn't Logan turning on Breaker, and that's a red herring, but instead it's I want to find the quote here to give credit. I take too many of them here. The idea is that Austin Theory will turn on Breaker when Seth enters the Rumble back from injury. Maybe he's on they have like limited minutes for starts when they come back in the NBA, or like, oh, he can only play 18 minutes instead of his normal 33. He might be able to get back in the ring, but not do a lot. I'm just throwing that out there. Maybe he's fine. Maybe he's 100% fine. Yeah. Or maybe Seth comes to ringside and just directs things. There's all kinds of ways Seth can be involved. So Austin Theory reveals, Austin is a surrogate for Seth, and he's getting revenge. He infiltrated the Vision, and that's why he's doing the stomp, and that's why, So I think that, and it almost feels spoilery because it feels like really like a natural way for this to go. But I don't have certitude about it. But I think that that makes sense. Derek Mitchell in the chat says if they want Seth against Braun Breaker, Seth needs to stay off ESPN programming because they've almost planned each time he's appearing on First Take or Get Up. Another comment on this, Mark Biscotti says, the Vision doesn't feel main event to me. I get what they're doing, but even Braun feels like he's already peaked. I don't know about that. I think there's an ebb and flow, and there should be. Otherwise, if there's not an ebb and flow to a young guy getting a big push, it feels like you're shoving them down fans' throats. So you want an ebb and flow to kind of let people exhale if they're getting a little tense about someone being overpushed. But Mark Biscotti says the faces felt marginalized as a result.
Well, I think there's a reason
Eric,
for that.
Sorry, Eric, hold on. I want to get this before I throw it.
Sure.
This is the one I've been looking for. Real Legend says, Wade, you think the Logan part is to throw off the scent, and it's Austin Theory who throws out Braun Breaker. That's the one I was looking for. I want to give credit to Real Legend while we're talking about it. So, now go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, to acknowledge that first, that would be a really big moment if that happens, and huge for Theory, too. And he needs it.
Does he deserve it? I don't know.
Hard to say. I'm rooting for him. And I think to the point of the Vision not feeling like a main event group, I think there's a reason for that. Mm-hmm. No one in the group is really a main eventer. They've put them all together and they're trying to make them main eventers at the same time. Mm-hmm. They've all been good. If you want to say Theory hasn't been that much yet, but the other three have been kind of right there, that just none of them have actually become main eventers yet. I think the closest thing I would want to compare it to is maybe the Triple H initial DX, not initial, but like when he reformed DX, and they weren't all quite main eventers yet. Or when the Nation of Domination being led by The Rock. Well, they weren't all main eventers yet, but they got there together. That's what it feels like they're trying to do with this Vision group. It's not the Horsemen. It's not it's not even Evolution, who had main eventers that just came together. So that to me is why they don't feel like it yet. I definitely think it's way too early to give up on them, though.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think if Obafemi wins the Rumble, that feels more natural as we talk through the booking, because then Roman Reigns can be in the Elimination Chamber, and there's more natural other possibilities to win a chance to face Punk. Obafemi's just on his own. Like it doesn't make sense. It's not self-evident who else would be in a chamber match. Right. That Obafemi's part of it. It would just feel like a random assembly. And they might do that. It's not like, they'd never do that. But it makes more sense to have Roman in the mix. I mean, if you load up the chamber with Breaker, Logan, Lesnar, Gunther, Reigns, and Theory or Seth or something, I mean, you could really have a loaded elimination chamber to earn a shot at Punk. So that's why, I mean, I lean most of the time towards Obafemi winning. I just think the vignettes right before every TV main event, he's in that graphic as a top 4 guy that they're featuring, and they really believe in him as a future star. I think they don't want to telegraph it to the average viewer, but they want him on the average viewer's mind. So when it happens, they don't go, "Who's this guy?" Oh, that's the guy who's in all these vignettes. So I'm leaning towards Oba winning. Roman in the chamber. Roman faces Punk. Oba challenges Drew. Roman challenges Punk. They might turn it into a 4-way or whatever if they have to wedge more people in. But I think you can do something with Seth and Theory against Breaker and Bronson Reed as a WrestleMania tag match. And then Lesnar, Gunther, as I kind of talk it out. And this all stuff I've kind of thought through. But I think even after tonight's show, kind of like you said, it didn't change your mind. It didn't add clarity. But I'm kind of in the same place on this. The other variable, just if they think Logan always felt like a weird fit for the Vision, Eric. So maybe they are going to split Logan out, keep Theory in the Vision for a while longer because he needs it, and that leads to Logan as a face against Breaker, but I think it's or vice versa. Split Breaker as a face against Logan. So I throw that out there as a possible B plan, especially if Seth isn't ready or they just don't believe Theory should be a fulcrum in this.
Yeah, and I don't see any scenario where Obafemi is main eventing one of the nights of WrestleMania. I do think that if he's wrestling McIntyre or whomever it is, if he wins the Rumble, it's going to be like many Rumbles lately where the person ends up in the opening match of night one. But that's still okay. In the landscape they have now, I see Punk versus Roman closing out night 2, and everything else is going to fall into place. It'll probably involve Cody at some point on night 1. Maybe it's Cody and Fatu and McIntyre main event night 1, and whomever, Obafemi versus Sammy. I don't know what they're going to do, but I guess we'll find out pretty soon.
Who you had Sammy against who?
Still trying to figure it out because McIntyre can't wrestle Obafemi and then also wrestle in a triple threat against Cody and Lost and Fatu. I can tell you, it's funny. What I want to happen is probably not what will happen, and it's that Orton wins the Rumble. I thought that was another thing I was toying with all week long, was when Cody mentioned that he was going to win the Rumble for the 3rd time. I thought they were going to sit on that and not acknowledge that Orton could also be the person to win it for the 3rd time and have that be a surprise, and maybe Orton wins the Rumble, and then you get Punk versus Roman night 2 and Orton versus Cody night 1 for the title.
How does Cody get
Cody
back?
wins it back at the Chamber probably, or sometime in between. Gets it back, and they do that. And I thought that's 2 very solid WrestleMania main events. And I still wouldn't rule that out because Orton's right there. He did say this is the year of the Viper. I didn't really believe him when he said it, but it's very possible. And that would still give Obafemi versus Drew McIntyre possible feud if Femi doesn't win the Rumble. There's just a lot of machinations here.
Yeah. No, I like some of those scenarios too. I'm thinking like with Sammy where they can split him off in some of the key scenarios we talked about. If it's they can also
have an idea.
Well, let me throw this quick, and then I'll. I think they could just have him miss WrestleMania and be upset, and then he has to win the Rumble next year, and he does. What do you think, Eric?
Okay. I think that's very likely to happen. If I had to bet what was going to happen, I would say that's going to happen. I think he's going to lose. He made that comment today about how he's never lost in Saudi Arabia. But we might want to put a pin on my out there theory of what could happen in the McIntyre Zayn match. When you want to talk about that, I don't know if you want to get into that yet or not.
That's
it's
good.
Out there.
So that's a good thing to hold people over while we do a quick introduction here. Let's do that.
Yeah.
This is the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Post Show for Friday, January 30th, 2026. I'm Wade Keller, host of the show, editor, publisher, and founder of the Pro Wrestling Torch weekly newsletter, the website, PWTorch.com, and the host of various podcasts, including the aforementioned Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Podcast Blue Logo Show, which features a weekly flagship. It also features interviews, pay-per-view preview specials, and more. Search Wade Keller in your podcast app to subscribe to that for free. The Wade Keller post shows are the red logo show when you search Wade Keller. That's our post shows after Raw, Dynamite, SmackDown. The last couple weeks we did live post shows after TNA Impact on their first 2 weeks on AMC. And also, you'll want to search PWTorch in your podcast app to subscribe to the PWTorch Daily Cast. That features a different show each day of the week with a focus on a different roster or different theme. And that will include Wrestling Night in America with Greg Parks hosting tomorrow right after the Rumble goes off the air within a few minutes. He'll be live right here on the PWTorch YouTube channel doing a live post show. You are welcome to join in the chat, just observe and listen, or call into the show. But you can also listen on delay in the podcast format. Just search PWTorch. We are here tonight, though, talking SmackDown, the final hype for the Royal Rumble, having fun running through various scenarios. We'll get to the women's match and the undercard, so to speak, although world title match hardly feels like an undercard, but in the Rumble it is. And a retirement match of a legend like AJ Styles, hardly undercard match, but it is. Technically, we'll get into that as we go here. Eric Corbridge is my co-host tonight. He is a PWTorch contributor. Eric, great to have you here to talk the final stretch here before the Royal Rumble.
Thanks. Thanks as always, Wade. It's great to be here. It's always we're starting to heat things up on the road to WrestleMania, and it gets exciting. A 3-hour show felt like it went pretty quickly to me, and it's always good to see that.
Yep. So tell people about your contributions to the Torch.
Sure. I've been writing a weekly alternative perspective report on SmackDown every week for about the last year or so, where I recap everything that happens on SmackDown and I give my analysis, and I try not to read Wade's right away so it doesn't impact what I'm thinking. And I'm also, if you don't mind me mentioning my Kickstarter.
Yeah, do it.
Real quick. So something I mentioned last time I was on here is that I'm running a Kickstarter right now. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's a site where people can essentially pre-order something from a creator. And I wrote and created a comic book series called Bad Will. And issue number 1 is currently running on Kickstarter until February 14th. And it's about a thrift store that only accepts items donated from failed relationships. So think Goodwill, but kind of the opposite. It's kind of built around that idea that you break up with someone and then stuff's kind of left behind, and you look at it and you're like, do I want this? Do I keep this? Do I get rid of it? It's built on that concept, and issue 1 is fully complete and ready to print. In fact, I'm ready this time, Wade. I have some prints right here of it that I have.
Sweet.
I'm about to print them up. So if anyone's curious, every bit of support directly affects how far the series can go. I've already written 10 issues that tells a full story, and it's on there till February 14th. So if anyone's curious, just go to Kickstarter.com and search Bad Will.
Awesome. Glad you remembered to get that plug in. That's a great project. All right. If you want to be part of tonight's show, if you're watching us live on the PWTorch YouTube channel, you can be a caller. There's a link to be a caller in my TV report at PWTorch. So go grab it there, click on the link, and join us. And you can also email us, wadekellerpostshow@gmail.com. And you can join in the chat, which is what most of you do. So there's that live interactive element as we are streaming live. Be sure, if you are watching us on YouTube, to subscribe and also like this show. And you are also very much invited to set up an alarm so that people know, or so that you know when we're going live. It'll just be a little reminder. So like the show, comment below, interact with other listeners, and subscribe to our channel here. We appreciate that. And I don't know. I think that's probably enough plugs. Let's get back to SmackDown. So you've got an idea here that's you say is out there. Let's hear it.
I'll say it's a theory. It's trying to figure out what's going to happen in this Sami Zayn Drew McIntyre match. And what I'm trying to figure out is how Sami Zayn can lose, even though that's not what I want to happen. I'll be rooting for Sami. How Sami can lose and it be okay. There's a certain Canadian who a lot of people are speculating might show up on this show. And everyone that I've heard is talking about the Rumble. Yep. How perfect would it be, and how Chris Jericho would it be to show up in the world title match instead and cost Sami the match, cost his fellow Canadian a match, and set up a match at WrestleMania between Sami and Jericho when everyone's expecting him in the Rumble?
I don't know why you think that's out there. I think it's almost, you should put a spoiler warning on it. I mean, not that you know, not your. I mean, you're just guessing. It's not actually a spoiler. Sure. Is a spoiler if you know. But this could, if it happens, people are gonna be mad. Well, I wouldn't have seen this coming except for Eric.
Well, I'm not Paul Heyman, first of all. And then the last time I tried to make a prediction like this, it fell flat on its face. But I was glad because it was about Miz wrestling in Cena's last match impromptu after the Gunther match.
I ran with that. I love that. I still think they should have done it. And a lot of people, as Becky Lynch would say, a lot of people agreed. A lot of people agreed.
Because history might be on our side on that one, given your reaction to what did happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. No, I like that. And I mean, Jericho and Sami, WrestleMania. I mean, do we want interference in a world title match? No. But if it's a Hall of Famer like Jericho making a long-awaited return after 7 years away or whatever, I mean, that might be a big enough, and it's not like, I mean, you can still have a finish to the match. Like, I'm trying to think, can you have him be instrumental and set up a match? Or Drew beats Sami and Jericho just laughs in his face afterwards? Or I don't know. I mean, there's variations of it.
Sure. Well, and Jericho already knows how to work with Sammy. They wouldn't, it's not like Jericho's coming in and has to learn how to work with somebody new.
Yeah.
He'd make a great mark on his first night back.
Yeah.
Sammy can help with Jericho's limitations now that he's a little older.
Can Jericho win the Rumble?
He absolutely can, but I don't think he should.
Right.
There's just too many other
more
interesting options.
There's a lot of things in wrestling that we go, it's a distinct possibility, but I strongly disagree with it. And so this might fall in that realm, which is it's a possibility, but I wouldn't vote for it for a variety of reasons. But you're saying I could see that. If that were to happen, then is it Jericho as a babyface against Drew? Is it Jericho as a heel against Sammy? Is it Jericho as a heel against Punk? Or is it Jericho against somebody else like a Cody or whoever wins the title between now and Mania?
Well, what they really could do, and even building on my theory, presuming that the Sammy McIntyre match happens before the Men's Rumble, Jericho costs Sammy the match. Jericho's still in the Rumble. He comes out in the Rumble gloating about what he did, and Sammy takes him out of it. He comes out, and we've seen it a million times. He comes out and ensures that Jericho gets eliminated. And that would set up the match right there.
Yeah. Well, a couple reader comments on this. Derek Mitchell says, why is Jericho costing Sammy the world title? Is Sammy on the list? Powder Repeat says, Jericho should not win the Rumble, and Sammy shouldn't win the title. Goodfella says, no, Jericho cannot. He'll be too tired, but I'm stoked he's back. If Jericho comes back, I hope it's not the list. Yeah, he won't do. He doesn't really do best ofs. I mean, like he generally wants to reinvent himself, which I respect. Derek Mitchell said, yes, we want the 55-year-old Jericho to win the Rumble. Then Tagar Laga says, I'll always remember the Jericho Punk 2013 match at Payback out of their trilogy feud. That is the best out of all the matches. And Derek Hubbard says, on the surface, I like the Jericho Sammy idea, but I don't want to see another forced Jericho heel run. It's time to play the nostalgia hits and go out as a babyface. Short and sweet run. There's a downside of that. Although if Jericho comes in as a heel, at least if he gets booed, it'll be, well, I wanted to get booed. Right. If there's any carryover from what was going on with him in AEW, and he comes in as a face and the fans reject him, that's embarrassing. And so it's the safer route is for him to come in as a heel, and if they cheer you, just turn babyface in May.
Yeah. And the reasons can be there. He could easily come in and say, I never had my moment where fans loved me winning a world title because it never happened in WWE. Yeah. Or he could come in and say, hey, I'm still mad at Kevin Owens and Sammy's his best friend and Owens isn't here to attack. Like, there's plenty of ways to spin it.
Is Gunther going to end Jericho's career in 2 years?
I mean, it seems like he's going to end everyone's career. Just name someone who's retiring. He's getting
Randy
fed to
Orton.
Gunther. There's 4 or 5 of them you can name over the next 2 years. The Sayonara Shinsuke tour. Maybe he'll end him too.
I know. Yeah, exactly.
He'll end him on like SmackDown.
Yes. Another comment here from Derek Hubbard. I would also support Oba winning, and that leads to a match with Drew. Oba starting out as a main event champion would also send a message for the future. I believe he is up for the task. Pro or con on Oba, the way they're building him up? Is this if he is going to win, do you think this is the right approach to take?
I think it's a big pro. I think they don't use the Rumble enough to really make someone. They tend to have someone who's already made win it because they want to set up WrestleMania matches.
Yeah.
Look what it did for Jay last year. Even if you want to say his title run wasn't spectacular, he's a main eventer now. He really is. He can claim to be from now on, and they can always use him that way.
Yeah. We got a theory on Jay in the chat that we'll get to in a minute too. Okay, let's see. Derek also says, I like the story Braun Breaker winning and getting the rematch against Punk at Mania. A Braun coronation at Mania would send a big message for the future. It would be a rematch, though. And it's a rematch where, he lost clean, didn't he? On the Raw?
He did.
Yeah, so, I mean, it does make sense to give a rematch after losing clean unless you win the Rumble, but I don't know where the intrigue is then. Like that, again, it's like the totality of how Braun has been pushed. It doesn't getting a sense of the rhythm of how things are done in WWE. It feels like they're going a different direction with him, especially with this intra-vision story of we're all supporting Breaker and Cole questioning it. I don't know. I think they don't think as much as they push that he's ready. It's not that they don't think he's ready, but I think they think he'll be just as ready, if not more ready next year. Like you don't have to concede he's not ready to just go, you know what? We have other things that make more sense this year.
Braun Breaker in his current main roster character development from that standpoint, I don't see that as a main eventer on either night of WrestleMania, like at least the last match. So even if he was going to wrestle Punk in like the opener of night one, is that really going to make him enough? Or do you want to wait another year, see if you can polish him up more, continue having him with Heyman? Yeah, I think that's the way to go.
I think that's a really good point. Is do you want Braun Breaker to be in a WrestleMania world title match of any kind and not have it be his coronation? And if you're not ready to do it this year, or you are, but you're not quite sure he's ready, he'll be accepted, or that it won't be seen as displacing someone more deserving or something. That's the other thing. It's not just like storyline. It's sort of the meta of it too, which is, will fans be upset if it looks like Breaker is getting a match that they'd rather see someone else in that match? I don't know if Roman's that guy. That would they be upset? Oh, Breaker took a spot against Punk and it should be Roman. But maybe they would. Maybe, but I don't know that people. I don't know the mainstream average fan, not the people refreshing social media constantly and listening to shows like this. But I think the vast majority of people who follow the product closely but not obsessively, I don't know that they're going to look at if Breaker gets the match with Punk as displacing Roman, even if we're talking like that. But I don't know what else they do with Roman unless it's something with Lesnar, because they both have a history with Heyman, which is a whole other road we could go down.
I don't want to see anything between Roman and Lesnar or Roman and Cody. We've seen enough. Don't need it anymore. There's plenty of other opponents.
Well, Cody felt that way. I wrote about that in the Wade Keller News Bulletin for VIP members a week or so ago, that Cody and Drew, I don't know who did more, but they lobbied to get the title change and having Drew win it because Cody felt there were fresher things than what they had planned. So I guess good for Cody. I don't know if it ruffled feathers, but the decision was made like less than 2 days before the match. It was going to be Cody winning, and within 48 hours, it was a change. So, all right. Another comment here. Oh no, I already posted. All right, I already mentioned that. Okay, so we'll get into a couple other topics. We got Crofton who called in, so let's bring him on to the show and see what he has to say. Crofton, welcome.
Hi, Wade. Hi, Eric. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I hear you really good.
Just a couple of things. Sorry, I'm zoomed in really close here.
I was going to move in close just so
we all do that.
I'll match.
You gotta...
see my nose hair. Just a couple of things. Eric, good luck with the comic book. Hope it works out. Sounds great. And Wade, thanks for sharing all your experiences in Minneapolis over the past few weeks. We've been listening. A lot of us listeners really appreciate the way you've been framing it and your sort of the empathy that you've shown to your neighbors. So just thanks so much for that. And thanks, of course, for the great podcast. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Appreciate the kind words.
So today on SmackDown was the first time I really, while watching the product, felt really bad about the Saudi Arabia thing. Mm-hmm. And the Royal Rumble is the event that I look forward to the most every year. Well, I think a lot of us do. And I'm the dad of two young girls, and my eldest is now old enough to sort of watch the product. We enjoyed Cody's Finish the Story, Road to WrestleMania. That was great onboarding for her. And now we got the Royal Rumble. She's only seen one before. And now this one, I'm looking at the crowd at SmackDown tonight. I think they found one girl. The cameraman found like one girl and filmed her like 3 times. And I guess my question to you guys is, knowing that WrestleMania next year is also going to be in Saudi Arabia, like how often can we expect them to be going back? Is this the peak of what you guys expect in terms of like women's attire, women in the audience? They like to sell the story that things are changing, things are getting better. Do you feel that we're at cap here, or that things are getting better, or that I'm still going to have to take a shower after every one of these shows?
Yeah. The women are dressed in full body suits that at least look like they're meant, that someone put a lot of thought and time into them. Like they're high-end outfits, but they are jarringly distinct from what they normally wear still. So we still have that issue, but they're different than they were initially. As Derek Mitchell says, seeing WWE women wrestlers wearing leather bodysuits in Saudi Arabia is a reminder we still live in a world without true equity. Oh, we get reminders of that all the time. But yeah, that is another reminder of it for sure. I think it's TBD. I mean, I think it's to be determined whether we see a higher, if Saudi getting the Rumble and then WrestleMania, it's sort of like, okay, deep breath, everybody. Let's not overdo it. But the Saudi money is big. If everything stays the way it has been, I mean, I don't think they would dare do it like 2 years in a row. Like if Saudi bought WWE, TKO or WWE, then who knows? Maybe it's just an annual event every time in Saudi Arabia. But I think it will. My best guess, my over/under is they probably get it like 2 or 3 years from now, and then they get another major event in between. So basically, there'll be 2 major Saudi PLEs every 3 years, and that pattern will continue. They could do more, they could do less. That's kind of my over/under. I don't think there's a reason, because they're drawing so well and making money elsewhere, that they would push it by doing more. And I don't think Saudi Arabia has a lot to gain from doing it more often than that, to be honest, for all the reasons they do it. I don't think a higher density of events and 2 major events every 3 years has much return. Not that they're worried about the money. I just don't think there's a high return that would cause them to give WWE an offer they can't refuse. Eric, what do you think?
I can't, again, it's TBD with everything you're saying too. I am not going to sit here and predict that the culture in that country is going to change enough to allow women to attend the shows more. And again, I think that's the main thing that frustrates me, is when I see that. How can I sit here and predict that how many years of their culture is going to just change because of this? It's hard to believe that could happen. Yeah, I don't want to be all too negative about this, but I'd be surprised if things change all that much. And I feel like I have to grit my teeth and watch it every time anyway.
Did you guys feel that at the end of SmackDown during the main event, there were less people in the stands? Do you think there'll be a dampening of enthusiasm, like with constant returns to Saudi Arabia?
So they did talk about, Cole said at the beginning, the fans are late arriving. That is typical of the Saudi culture. And then they did a camera angle that showed the hard camera side, especially, was almost empty. But he said we expect to have over 18,000 here now and over 25,000 Saturday. It sounded like Bill Mercer back in the mid 80s when the World Class Championship Wrestling syndicated show, and they'd go to the Cotton Bowl at Texas Stadium and that'd be the Von Erichs, and he'd be like, "There's a traffic jam outside. People are still trying to get in," as a way to kind of cover for the crowd. I know, LA crowds are notoriously casual arriving. I didn't know that was a Saudi thing. And as Rude Dog said in the chat just now, those fans never showed up. It looked like more people left during the night. Now, I will say I didn't pay attention to I didn't note the size of crowd at the end, Crofton, compared to the beginning. So I'd have to go back and relook at it. Eric, did you notice?
I didn't notice either. I was busy paying attention to the action in the ring. Didn't check. I should have, but didn't notice.
Yeah, Father Repeat said lots of empty seats in the chat too. It would be weird to have people leaving during the show. So to answer your broader question, Crofton, I think we have seen from the early Saudi shows a progression of knowledge among the fans attending that has made the shows feel not indistinguishable from other WWE shows, but blending in quite a bit. Like they're singing along to Cody's song and Orton's song. They're cheering, they're booing. They aren't doing quite the European stuff as much, but they are mimicking what basically American fans or the core WWE crowds have been doing for years. They clearly are familiar with the product, and they're reacting to it not as a novelty, but as a true WWE fan. And there's a lot of them. But is the bloom off the rose, whatever, is the novelty factor not as strong as it once was? And are they going to see diminishing returns if they burn out the market? And then what do you do if people aren't breaking down the doors to get into it, to fill it for 18,000 seats before the show starts? That's embarrassing for Saudi Arabia and WWE. And then you almost start treating, unless you're going to order people to go or mandate people go, now you start creating greater resentment around the world that there's this country that's getting events that can't even sell out, and they're buying events for a fan base that isn't as into it. And I guess what I want when I brought this aspect of it, Crofton, at the beginning, is I think the justification for going to Saudi increased, and it deflected from it's just blood money and they're buying the events and it's paid events. It got deflected. It got, that argument got diminished a bit by the sheer joy and enthusiasm the fans were showing in the crowd. That wasn't there early on. And so it's something to watch. And, tomorrow it will be a big moment in a way. Like, do they show enough love and appreciation for the Rumble? Crofton, you're a big fan. So you're not alone in that being one of your favorite event of the year. Michael Cole outright says it's his favorite night of the year. So they have to be careful they don't cause resentment among their fan base. They got a lot of things working against them as a company.
And to your point, Wade, about them being smarter fans, I noticed that when Cody Rhodes came out and cut his promo to open the show, he got the big ovation. They're singing his music. They're excited to see him. Then he talks about winning the Royal Rumble a third time, and there were some, there were some boo birds out there, and I think that shows a level of awareness that they're like, we can support this guy, this baby face. We like him, but you know what? We would like to see somebody new win the Rumble. And I can appreciate that. That's in line with how I feel. So you could be very well right that they're becoming more attuned to sort of the product than they were when it was just like bring back the Goldbergs and Undertakers and over and over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
absolutely.
Anything else, Crofton?
Yeah, just one thing. So I'm not a negative Nelly on just the Saudi of it all. I enjoyed the show. I thought it was good. The 3-hour thing is still an adjustment. The screens were amazing. Like, it looks amazing. It's going to look great tonight. It'll be exciting to see tomorrow, rather. I don't even know what time. I think it's in the afternoon. The people will come in and the entrances will be so awesome. Regarding the Vision, because they main evented this show, I'm used to seeing them on Raw. I am struggling with the Vision. I think a lot of folks are. Wade, I've heard you speak very flatteringly about the Vision, and I think individually I can appreciate each of the members in it, but it feels like a faction that is in search of an identity. It's got a title like The Vision. You feel like that would be somebody's vision. First, it felt like it was Seth Rollins' vision. Now it's maybe Paul Heyman's vision. I feel like the faction would be stronger if they had a center person like they did with Seth. And I feel like Braun would be better served in the Batista role that he was in kind of before from Evolution, the quiet sort of enforcer that's slowly fuming and eventually snaps and becomes a babyface. In this situation, like Logan Paul perhaps could be the guy. I think there would be tremendous heat in Paul framing him as the future, and Logan Paul is the guy. I think people would love to boo that, and it would make sense for the Bronson Reeds and the Braun Breakers of this world turning on him. But in the main event with the four of the top baby faces against these four guys, I just still struggle. And to Eric's point about like Braun being in one of the main events at WrestleMania, he does amazing spears. He sells intensity very well, but beyond that, I struggle to get on board, I guess. How are you both feeling about the Vision after tonight heading into the Rumble?
I'll say too, you started by saying I speak fondly of the Vision. I'm not like anti-Vision, but I don't think I've expressed like great enthusiasm for the group. I don't think it's like red hot or anything like that. I mean, it's intriguing. But I don't know. I mean, Logan, I always say it feels like a bit of a weird fit. There's a little pushback in the chat on that. Austin Theory is a work in progress. They're stripping down everything about him that people thought previously. And I think, you got to wait to see what story they're telling with him before you can fully judge why they're kind of, just having him stand there being intense. I don't think they're over pushing Theory in the group. I mean, he's just clearly the fourth guy in the group right now. Bronson Reed, I think they seem like super high on, and people have been trying to figure out for years how to get him land somewhere where he can have real value. And I think he has it, but he's not. Nobody thinks Bronson Reed is going to be the guy who turns on Breaker or Logan or in headlines WrestleMania. He's not a WrestleMania headliner guy as good as he is. He's, is more, Tully Blanchard, if we're going to use an old Four Horsemen example. And I think that's a decent fit in terms of where he is in the faction. But I'm with you, Crofton, on Braun Breaker. I'm not championing him. I was super critical when he championed himself a main event promo and I showed CM Punk. It's like, one, why would he care? Why would the character care if he's a good promo? He just wants to spear people and beat them up and win titles. This whole meta thing of I'm a great promo, so now I can be a main eventer. It's like, in canon, that doesn't matter. You're just pinning people, so it matters, not out talking them. So I've been critical of it. I mean, I think it's fine. I'm intrigued with it, but I don't know. I don't think it's I think the points you make, Crofton, I'm nodding along to. I'm not like winding up a comeback. I think you've very much characterized it in a way that's fair. And even with, like, I will say that I didn't think when you brought up Seth, I don't think it was better with Seth, but I agree with you that it was a clear top guy, and that is a positive. But I never felt they had, sometimes you have a friend, he's dating somebody for a few weeks, and you're like, they don't have chemistry. Like there's no, it's not going to last. That's how I felt the whole time with Seth and the Vision. I just didn't feel I felt like they didn't even talk backstage. Like they met, they converged at Gorilla and hadn't talked all afternoon. But the only thing they were told is, Seth, you go first for 2 minutes, and then everyone else gets their time. That's how it felt to me. It didn't feel collaborative. There wasn't chemistry. So I agree with Crofton with your point. It'd be good to have a true alpha, and Braun hasn't reached that yet. And Logan still feels like a novelty celebrity, integrated more than most, but it's still there. Bronson's more Tully, and Austin Theory is whatever. So Paul Roma, I don't know. Eric.
Oh wow. So
we're gonna do the Horseman thing.
Sure. I agree with you too, Crofton. I'm very underwhelmed by the Vision, but there's two reasons why I'm not ready to give up on them yet. If this had been the original iteration of the Vision, whoever was in it, and they were still struggling like this, I'd probably be done with it. But it hasn't been that long since they kicked Seth out. So I feel like there's still time to build. They haven't even been through a full WrestleMania season, which is, to me, is the real proving ground. Yep. Can they get through WrestleMania season and find something that works? So in the short term, I'm interested in what they're going to do tomorrow night at the Rumble, because there's a story in place that's intriguing. Where it plays out from there is interesting. To me, it's easy to compare it. So from a micro level, trying to figure out, you can tell they're trying to figure out how Austin Theory can be a main eventer and how he can fit in. But I think from a more macro level, they're still trying to figure out how that whole group can be a main event group and fit in. And I think there's still time to do it. But if we're still having this conversation in April, I think that's when I might completely sour on it.
I think it's fair to say wait a little bit. Like, right, Crofton, It's not there yet, but it doesn't mean give up or it's a failure. I think it's fair to say they might have something in mind, and they're just not rushing into it. And April, May might be the time, Crofton, to really evaluate, okay, that's the story arc they were on, and now it makes sense. And then we can evaluate if it worked.
It just feels a bit like the Judgment Day all over again. And that is not like to cast dispersions on the Judgment Day that turned out quite well, but like it was originally a faction for Edge, mm-hmm. right, as the centerpiece star, and to build up these other stars, and then that pivoted relatively quickly, and it feels like this is again happening. But I guess I just don't see the, for lack of a better term, brand identity of the Vision. They just seem like a random assortment of guys, it's not that they necessarily need more promo time, in so much as maybe more focused promo time. Tomorrow, I expect like LA Knight to come back and to, at least eliminate one, if not a couple of the Vision members, just based on the fact that they spent so long in that episode of Raw kind of writing LA Knight off for a while. I feel that this is a moment where he will come back. I'm not sure if it's too early for dissension in the Vision, but probably. But yeah, I'm glad to hear. Thank you both. I'm glad to hear that I'm not completely off base on that. Wade, mm-hmm. You've just been like glass half full. I didn't mean to characterize you as being pro Vision, but you have like talked about Austin Theory's upside. You've talked about lots of people's upside, and I really I appreciate that. It's just been tough for me to connect with this faction in particular, and they are presented as a main event faction, the centerpiece of Raw, the main antagonist, the main heels, and it just, I don't know, just has not worked so far. Fingers crossed that it will. And
with the Austin Theory thing, it turned into a bit mostly on the fix, although bunch of people, will bring up Austin Theory and say, yeah, give him a try. Like it felt like a box that needed to be he needed to be let out of a box that he had been in, and there was just a feeling of he was really good in NXT being the dopey guy. He was a good athlete when he first came into Evolve. He was talked about as a future of the business. He's got a good look. Ultimately he might be a good baby face because he's not super big. But the feeling was explore it, give him a chance. He's in his late 20s, and instead of just, in the Cena thing, I wrote about it on a Wade Keller News Bulletin. I broke down, and I think it's worth reading what I wrote like 3 times to see the sort of subtext of some things that I was trying to say without saying them in terms of what happened both with Cena, and I think some things Austin revealed about himself in the quotes that I selected to put in that story several weeks back. But I'm not like putting money down on Austin Theory working as a main event star. All I've ever advocated for is I think there's something there. It's worth exploring when I look at the lay of the land. I think he is distinct from other options. You don't have to push him at the expense of anybody else. There's nobody else just like him who you're displacing, who's his age, his body type, and has his look and has shown the comedic range. Can he portray himself more seriously? They absolutely, obviously are stripping him down to it's just, you're stripping the paint, you're stripping the pink and lime green paint off of him, and you want to build him up with silver and black. You know what? You're trying to make him go from kind of goofy to something more serious, but you got to strip the paint away. We're in the primer stage, and the primer is drying. Now they're going to try to paint him, maybe starting tomorrow in the Rumble, maybe later than that, with something else besides just being serious and looking more badass and less dopey. I don't know if it's going to work. He doesn't blow me away in the ring, but I say all the time for everyone, that's not the key to being a top guy in WWE. You have to hit a certain threshold, and then you can be covered up. It's not like Roman has ever, or Jey Uso. They got even Cody. I mean, Cody's probably better than Austin Theory will ever be, but can Austin Theory be a WWE main event style guy, top of the second tier or in the mix in the top? Maybe, but you got to try it with him, I think. That's where I've always been on it, even though it's been a bit of a bit where it's like, oh, I'm championing him as my first round draft pick. I've never said that, even in kind of playing this up the last couple of years.
Yeah, and to your point, Croft, and you made such an apt comparison comparing the Vision to the Judgment Day. And to me, I think that's what should give everyone hope that there's still a possibility with the Vision, because I don't think anybody had, when the Judgment Day broke up, that Rhea and Damian were going to catch fire for their bond together. And then what happened with Dominic Mysterio, I don't think anyone would have predicted that at the time.
Yep.
And then you put these different wrestlers in a group together, and it creates so many different dynamics between them that can be used later. Like, I could easily see if someone crossed Braun Breaker, it would piss off Bronson Reed, because they've clearly established that bond there.
Yep.
So they're giving all these different possibilities. And who knows, with Austin Theory, he might end up having tremendous chemistry with Seth Rollins if that becomes a thing.
Right.
You just don't know what's going to catch fire.
Yeah. And then a year from now, Seth is heel, and I don't know, Seth. I don't know if he's going to be heel or face or care. I don't trust him
He's just going to cackle. That's what
he's just going to be Seth. But like, if you eventually break up Theory and Seth, in those two wrestle, there can be, they might have a kind of an 18-month plan with Theory, but they might have jumping off points. Like, this train might make a few stops and they dump Theory into the mid card along the way if they don't like what they see. Because I mean, it's not like there's this big body of work at house shows in the last couple of years with him, or it's not like they sent him to NXT to figure things out. I mean, I think they're trying to figure it out, but they're there's advocates for him who are waiting for a time to give him this chance. And, and Logan Paul's still a work in progress. It's weird seeing Logan Paul in a group. He does feel more like, a solo act. Pal Driver Pete mentioned that. He goes, Logan's character shouldn't be part of a group. If anything, he should have his own goons. Yeah. You're nodding along, Crofton.
No, 100%. Logan should be, I personally don't like Logan Paul, but I think that he does tremendous heel work. And I think that, yes, he should lead some flunkies. Just changing the topic very quickly, guys. I watched this episode of SmackDown with eyes to some of the new stars going into the Rumble, and Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams in particular, Ilya as well, all super impressive. Back in the day, it seemed like top guys had a few years and then they were out injured or they were retired earlier. Now it feels like they get a good amount of years. Some would say maybe even too long. And you end up with quite a bunch of older gentlemen on the top of the male card, I would say. So heading into the Rumble tomorrow, who, in terms of like young guns, fresh blood, that sort of thing, do you have your eyes on particular as somebody that might get a push or even stand to win the Rumble and be thrust right into the main event of WrestleMania? Or will it be the same? Like, Eric, your fantasy booking earlier was interesting, but it was, it's like Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes and gentlemen we have seen many times before. Is there somebody you have your eyes on for tomorrow?
Javon Evans. I don't think they'll push him to WrestleMania main event right now, but I don't think he's going to be. He gets in, does a couple spots, and gets knocked out. I think they're going to want to give him extended time. I think there's going to be a 10-minute stretch where, when you're kind of making notes on, once you talk about the closing scene, and once you get done with what they did with Powerhouse Hobbs if he debuts or something, or whatever, then. Where there's a chapter with Gunther and Lesnar. There's going to be that top layer of top guys. And I think Javon, WWE wants to be in that next layer of conversation. He had a moment. I don't want him to just do Kofi's bit. Oh, he gets eliminated, but acrobatically stays involved. I think that's too cliche. And it's like, well, he kind of looks like him, so let's have him do the same thing. He's athletically capable. I think you can do something different with him. And then Trick Williams. I mean, there's people. I'm getting higher on him in this environment, the way WWE's producing them, than the way NXT did. I saw them both at a TNA and NXT show over the last year plus, and didn't blow me away presence-wise, but I wasn't sour on him, but I wasn't like, whoa, this guy just owns the ring when he's in it. And I think it was both times in multi-person matches, but the crowd reacted to him in a big way. I think he's creating a new fan base. And I think when I was watching him tonight, I thought, Trick needs confidence, genuine confidence, to sell the audience on his gimmick. If there's any doubt, then people see through it, and the gimmick will feel like it's put on, it's performative. And I think him working in front of bigger crowds who are reacting to him, and being in the big leagues with big names touting him, and I think it's giving him confidence that, to me, is showing up in a level higher than I've seen before. Because sometimes you're working with the top producers, you're working with big crowds, you're working with different crowds, every week. So I don't know. To me, Trick, I don't think he's going to win. It's going to be his year, but I'd put him in there with Javon as somebody who, besides the obvious Inoba Femi, who they're going to push. And then we obviously talked about Austin Theory. He's not like a super new guy like Javon, but I think there'll be something with him in this match, or distinct possibility. There's 13 people they haven't named yet. So, I think roughly it's 13 they haven't named yet. So there could be another undercard name. By the way, Penta's another name that might jump out to people. I think Penta's at the level he's going to be at. He'll be what he is, but I think they kind of have him figured out. He's going to be a top of the second tier guy, and they're going to love him and give him showcase matches, maybe a world title match. 2 years from now, he'll have a world title program, and it'll feel like he earned it, and he's got that kind of AJ Styles earned fan base behind him. I don't think this is the year for him, but I think he'll have some moments booked for him also. Eric.
Yeah, for me, for Trick, I've been so impressed with Trick in the month that he's been on the main roster, and it felt like he's fit in from day one. Like, he looks like he belongs, and to me, that's a major compliment. I was actually frustrated with him tonight, though. I felt like his brief promo was 100% a babyface promo, and there wasn't a single thing he did that was anything that a heel would do. So I missed where he turned babyface over the last seven days. That said, it was a short promo, and he was still cocky. So there you go. But if you're given, I don't know if this quite meets your criteria, Crofton, but I'd say an outside, to me, a very not a strong candidate to win it, but if somebody kind of outside the box a little bit, would be Jacob Fatu winning. I could see that happening, but I don't think too many people would have him in their top 8 of who might win it. But I could see it as a possibility if they wanted to pull that trigger.
And who does he then go on to face? What's the concept?
He would go on to face McIntyre, and then Cody finds a way to get involved.
That's what I was.
And it's a triple threat match.
I was going to load the question up by saying, so you're assuming Cody gets added to it to make it a triple threat.
Way. Something
Cody
there was something written in the contract the day before that we find out the next day.
What about Cody wins the Rumble? I mean, the Elimination Chamber then, and chooses to be added to that match instead of facing.
That'd be interesting.
Punk. Yeah, I mean, he talked about
that leaves another spot opened up for.
And then you have a completely different way to get to Punk's opponent. Anyway, yeah,
I would like that.
Yeah. Crofton.
No, well, that's it. That's it from me, Eric. Yeah. Thank you. You picked Jacob Fatu. Wade, you love Austin Theory. Thank you so much for this, and hope to call in again.
I hope you do. I appreciate it. Good.
Thanks, Crofton.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
A lot of people in the chat, by the way, Eric had brought up. We're going to get to the women's division in a second. We'll get to AJ Gunther also. But where does LA Knight fit into this show right now? I got to mention this because it's a fun reference. Derek Mitchell goes, LA Knight has cousin Oliver Heat from the Brady Bunch with Triple H.
He sure looked like it. He looked like a defeated man.
Yeah. I don't know about including that scene. I mean, if you miss this, I mean, I don't know. LA Knight doesn't do himself any favors the way he carries himself, so people are harder on him when he makes mistakes. I mean, when he first came in, I reported on, why he rubs people the wrong way, and the argument for people who knew him well is he is his own worst enemy socially at the beginning. He doesn't mean it, and the more you get to know him, the less it seems like a problem, but not like it's not a problem. It's just like, okay, he doesn't mean to come across that way, but it's still kind of annoying that he does and doesn't have the wherewithal to course correct. But he is going to make himself based on, for whatever reason, how he acts behind the scenes with colleagues in management. People are going to be less forgiving of him when he botches spots, slips on the ropes, forgets spots in promos, and screws up a key sequence in a match. And you could just see he was just looking browbeat. I don't think it's great for his character, to be honest, that they showed that. It did feel like they were trying to show him up, not help give him a boost. And that has caused me to talk less about him this week than I would have. Because I think if they had big plans for him, they wouldn't have shown that.
Yeah. It also made me wonder, what's the reason he's been off this whole time?
Yeah.
Because I thought he just needed a break and they were going to bring him back fresh with a heel turn. That's where I've always thought he's coming back. Because I don't think anybody really sees that coming. And because there was so much attention on Jay maybe turning heel. But they have so many established baby faces right now, and they need some heels. And that, I think, is LA Knight's best path to doing something more important than what he's been doing, where he's just kind of like bumping his head up against the glass ceiling.
Yeah. Tagar Laga says, if WWE's giving fans false hope with an LA Knight return, then the creative team needs to seek professional help. I don't think they're giving them. I don't think they've been hinting at LA Knight. Like, who said, Goodfellas says LA Knight could be maybe number 30. I just don't think they're going to give number 30 to LA Knight. I think LA Knight's going to more likely to be 11, and he gets eliminated 6 minutes later. And then whatever, I don't know. I
see a feud with Jay coming. That's what I see happening, because I don't see who else Jay has on the horizon, unless it is Jay versus Jimmy again, but I just don't see it.
Derek Hubbard said earlier, I believe Jay will be revealed as the attacker of Jacob Fatu, leading to a Mania match. That'll explain Jay's mixed signals during the fall season. So that's interesting.
It's definitely interesting.
Ponder. I mean, they have not fully addressed that yet. Is it just either Cody or Drew? Can it be a third person? Shouldn't somebody admit it by now? Or forcefully deny it in a way that's credible? So I hope it's not like Eric Bischoff's huge announcement and it's a Goldberg heel turn, or it's not the Black Scorpion and it's Ole Anderson's voice and then Ric Flair, and you want a payoff, and you hope they have a payoff in mind. And it's
not the higher power.
There we are. Yep, exactly. So, Goodfellas says
I was gonna say, we can't forget that the Usos are tag team champions too right now.
Right.
I'm predicting all these singles matches for Jay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sad the tag division. We won't even really. I mean, it's not worth focusing on or speculating on until things play out a little bit, at least through tomorrow, but maybe beyond.
At least with the women, every single main eventers in the women's tag division, so we're good there.
Yeah, that's true. Goodfellas says they should start getting Fatu in some of those spots and see how it flows. Yeah, let's see. Real Legend just had said, I don't know, Wade, I've been enjoying Logan in the Vision. By the way, I've enjoyed him more than I expected. I think he's fitting in more than I expected. I still, with that said, think he'd be better having his own group of lackeys split off from the group. I think he competes with Braun Breaker seeming like the alpha, but they're not willing to let Logan be the alpha because he didn't come up in the business. He's still a celebrity novelty influencer guy, more than he is a wrestler that you would expect to lead a faction led by Paul Heyman. He doesn't feel like the follow-up to Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar and CM Punk. It's just weird. So he's fitting in better than I thought he would. He's fitting in better than Seth in certain ways, but I still don't love it. Yeah. Let's talk about the women. You just brought them up, Eric. They are telling lots of stories at once. It feels like an ensemble of possibilities, and I feel like the mainstream middle 80%, not the 15%, 10% who are like super into it, not the 5 or 10% who are super duper casual, but kind of that middle 70, 80%. I think if you polled them, you would get their picks would be spread out pretty evenly among 12 people, 12 women.
Right.
And that's fine. That's fine. I mean, I think it's Bianca or Charlotte myself. I wrote about that in the newsletter cover story this week, but I don't know. Eric, what do you think?
I don't think it's going to be Charlotte because they haven't even had someone win 2 besides her yet. I don't think she's going to get a 3rd one already after winning last year. I would say 90%. I think it's going to be Bianca. 10% Liv Morgan finds a way to win it. And I guess if Liv Morgan's winning, she's going to wrestle Valkyrie at Mania, and we'll still find a way to get to Bianca versus Jade Cargill. That's where I see it going. I do think there's an outside chance someone like a Lynch could win it, or one of either Rhea or Io if they wanted to make that one of their title matches at Mania somehow. But there's a lot of steps they'd have to go to get there too. So,
Charlotte and Jade have crossed paths, but
right,
and they've teased that, they've planted that seed. It doesn't mean it has to happen at WrestleMania. But if Charlotte doesn't win or doesn't end up in one of the main events, like could she end up facing Bliss one-on-one? People have just, I think it's less on people's radar as well. Of course, that's where they're heading. But now for so long, it hasn't been, of course, where they're heading, that maybe they'll end up heading there. Barrett said, "Oh, they're bickering," and Cole's like, "No, they're not," or pushing back on that. So where are you on that dynamic generally between those two, Bliss and Charlotte? And then are they a tag team at WrestleMania? Are they facing each other at Mania, or are they doing separate things at Mania?
To me, they are going to be a tag team at WrestleMania because I think Rhea is going to be wrestling Io, and that's such a similar thing that I don't think they would do it with both of them.
Good point. Yep. You got Nia Jax and Lash Legend. Are they? I mean, they just might do, four-way tag just to put them all on the, put a bunch of them on the show or something like that. By the way, for the women's, should we mention Tiffany Stratton? I don't know her injury status, if there's been reports on that. I don't know that if she came back, people would be like, "Woohoo, Tiffany's back. Let's let her win." I don't think she forged that bond with the fan base in that way. But just throw that out there so don't forget. But what stood out tonight in terms of the build with anybody else that stood out?
For the women, I don't see any other options. I don't think they're going to pull the trigger on a Bayley or a Lyra, which is just another tag team where you could see them wrestling each other at WrestleMania. But I don't think they're going to do that either. There's no sign of Lynch. I believe she's declared for it, hasn't she?
Yeah.
Or did Aldis say their spots are filled up? I don't know what's going on with them anymore. No, I don't see Julia. I don't see anything there, even if Kiana James wants to talk like it's a possibility, which I do appreciate. I don't see Nikki Bella coming back in and winning it, but I'm sure she'll be in it.
Yeah.
Naomi, is she ready to come back? Is that a possibility?
I think she's still pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
out for that. So, yeah, I was looking over what I wrote when I put more thought into it in the newsletter, and it's just I looked at basically it's the path you took. Like legacy acts like Becky, Bayley, Asuka, and Liv are outside possibilities. Rhea and Io Sky, one of them could win, and somehow the other wins a title, and then they choose to face them, and it's a title match. Jordan Grace or Lyra would be, let's give a big boost by giving them a win. I don't think they're ready. I think Jordan Grace being fed to Jade as a transition, as a bridge to get to a bigger match. and that's fine. They can heat Jordan Grace up in a year and a half again if they really believe in her. But sometimes it's like, well, let's not have her beat Fine down yet. Let's just have her go in, have a feud, and Jade wins, and then we go somewhere else. So
could you have AJ Lee as a possibility?
I think it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, it's definitely worth mentioning. It seems more like the probably more likely path for her is a match with Lynch, which would kind of take them both off the board.
A grudge, more of a grudge match than a title match. Yeah, you can do AJ Becky without a title, and then you do Jade against Bianca. If she's not ready, they go a different direction with her. Then Charlotte, I think
you can do all of these tag teams without a title. I think it's pretty clear you need to do Belair versus Cargill for the title, because they're already there. But the other side, I think Vaquera against someone. It's just a matter of who, and that's why I thought Morgan is a very likely candidate.
Yeah. Some comments in the chat. Taker Laga says Nikki Bella is not winning any major events anytime soon because she recently exposed kayfabe at a college football game when interviewed by Pat McAfee. Heaven forbid, as they promote. That would be unreal.
Is kayfabe a thing anymore?
Yeah, I know. Darrell says Becky on ESPN First Take today said she will be in the Rumble and asked AJ Lee to meet her there if she can. So they could actually set up the feud there without her winning. But Goodfellas says AJ to win in Saudi? Nah, she ain't with it. So you have the whole Saudi thing too, although if Punk goes in.
I was going to say, if Punk has done it,
yeah.
Who knows?
But Taker Laga says, I would feel Nikki may get punished for what she did at the college football game. Rude Dog wants to know, will there be any TNA wrestlers in either of the Rumbles?
Probably at least one or two. I don't know who.
I mean, Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah, Ziggler. They could pull one of the Hardys.
You don't like TNA shouldn't. I mean, Santana should not be in it because you don't want him to be in it and just look like he's just a guy. So no, I mean Joe Hendry. I mean he's not a TNA guy anymore, but I mean
Kazarian.
I don't. I mean, it crossed my mind, so it's not like crazy to say, but I don't know that he'd gain anything from it either. And I don't think he's a big enough name that they like. What you don't want is casting him out. People, who's that? He just isn't a WWE guy.
It would feel like throwing him a bone more than anything else.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Leon Slater. Someone throws out. Goodfellas says. Okay. Mark Biscetti says whether it's Liv or Bianca tomorrow, the other one will win the Chamber. Okay.
I don't disagree.
Yep.
And that would make me think more likely it's Morgan that wins tomorrow and then Bianca wins the Chamber.
Yeah.
That would make a lot more sense to me.
I think that was Rich Van's pick, and we recorded the VIP show, Everything with Rich and Wade, by the way, if VIP members want to check that out after this. And we started with about 15 minutes of talk on the Rumble, ran through some of this stuff and got Rich's take.
They did make a clear point to say that that Liv has been in every women's Rumble, and this will be her 9th, and that she was the runner-up the last 2 years. So they made sure to get that out there too.
Darrell says, shouldn't we be thinking Liv is going to win the Rumble since they have her going on a losing streak? That's a WWE thing they'd like to do. I want them to break from things that they think they're being tricky, and it just gives it away. I'm not sure. Derek Mitchell says, I'm not sure the crowd would react to Charlotte if she won, given fans' negative reaction to her last year. Could she flourish chasing the title without Alexa Bliss? She's been on a long enough journey. I'm curious what happens when she splits off and just, if she's a babyface singles wrestler again, if people react differently to her.
I think it's fair to say that this team up with Bliss has done wonders for Flair, just in total. But it is starting to wear a little thin. I thought tonight was pretty weak when they were pretending to act like they didn't realize they would throw each other out during the Rumble. It was just kind of silly. And it just came across really poorly. And Flair, to me, always comes across as a worse, quote, actor than Bliss does. And it just always makes Flair look worse. So they probably should end this soon. I just don't know that they necessarily need to end it the way every other tag team breaks up. They can just go their separate ways if they need to.
Yep. Becky, I talked about that. Let's see. Tagar says Alexa Bliss should be the heel if she feuds with Charlotte. Bliss may complete the Wyatt 6. So there's that. Goodfellas says Jordan Grace in the final 4, please. Goodfellas says Chelsea for Rumble winner. Screw Unreal. LOL. Powder River Pete says I'm so tired of Charlotte. The boos were already out for her tonight.
So I have sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was gonna have a question, but it's a little bit off topic from the women. So I can save it.
Let me just, I know there's one other comment here that I had flagged during our women's discussion that I just lost track of. Oh, well, go ahead. Go ahead.
So this doesn't have to do with the women, although there's probably an equivalent. Carmelo Hayes. He's done so well over the last however many months. And he had a great match tonight. Do you just leave him out of the Rumble so he doesn't come in and last 5 minutes and get thrown out just for no reason? Because he's not like going to be a big part of this most likely tomorrow, or is it better to just give him the exposure anyway? Because I don't see him going in there and lasting 30 minutes with all these other names that are in it. Does it do more harm than good when he's out here having excellent 15-minute matches every week on SmackDown?
And who are you talking about?
Carmelo Hayes.
Yeah, okay. For some reason, I thought you were maybe talking about Dragunov. I missed it.
Either one, really.
Yeah, I know that's the thing. They both fit. And when I missed what you said, I was like, well, context will fill me in. And then I was like, oh, it could be either Carmelo or Ely you're talking about. Carmelo more recently. Yeah, I mean, you know, I didn't when we're talking about like young stars who can have a moment in the Rumble. I think you can have a good showing in the Rumble and get dumped and not out of it by multiple guys. It can forward a feud, set up a feud. And yeah, I mean, there's the Miz Hayes thing. I mean, if Miz is in it, and so you can, forward a story and end up getting to that match based on something that happens there. I think there's a way to book it where you can avoid defining him down, but I think what you're positing has merit. Like It could, it's sort of what I said about like Santana or even Kaz being it. Like more Santana, like if you're a big deal in one context, don't put someone in another context where they're not a big deal, because it might define them down. So I don't think unless they have something very specific that they think will be memorable and forward him to his next U.S. title open challenger, or forward something with Miz to heat that up a bit, leave him out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's tricky because I feel like every year I see wrestlers that go in and they're kind of riding a little bit of a hot streak, and then they have an underwhelming performance in the Rumble, and I think, I thought they would do more than that, and it can affect them. I guess they could easily get out of it this year with Hayes by having something like Hayes and Dragunov eliminate each other, or Miz eliminates both of them because they're busy with each other, or something like that. So I'm sure they can get around it. But Hayes is doing great work. I just don't want him to suffer from anything.
Yeah, no, I think it's a astute point to bring up. Let's talk about what they did with AJ and Gunther tonight. And I mean, there's all kinds of reasons to think that AJ's last match is tomorrow. There's all kinds of reasons to think, man, they get you excited a whole year of AJ, and then Gunther ends it. Maybe that gets extra heel heat on him. But I mean, there's all kinds of signals that this is it for AJ. And they're almost doing it too obviously on the air. But now, he's in the ring. Oh, I want to face. Who did he list before the crowd chanted CM Punk?
He listed Cody,
Orton,
and then he started to say Punk.
And the crowd chanted Punk, and he said, and then he said Punk. So, I mean, you're floating out there matches that the crowd is going, yeah, we want to see that. You can read that two ways. They're trying to sell you on the idea that he is going to survive against Gunther, maybe not beat him, but survive to fight another day. And that's why he's kind of teasing these other matches. But you can also look and go, I don't know. I think AJ's career is complete if he doesn't have matches again with those three.
That's where my head was at when he was talking. I thought, these are three matches that sure I would enjoy them, but they're not that fresh. I don't need to see them. And maybe it's time.
Like if AJ said, I really want matches against Javon Evans, Trick Williams, Obafemi, Austin Theory, I'm going to put that Punk in his place, and Javon Evans, if I didn't say that already, or is there someone else I was thinking of, and Penta and Ray Phoenix. Like if he just lists a bunch of people that aren't just sort of people who've been around forever, I'd be like, okay, that you cannot tease us with all those and not wrestle for another full year. But he didn't say names that really would feel like, oh God, AJ against Trick Williams. They're setting up a future feud. That'd be great for Trick to have a 2-month program with AJ as a heel and get to work with a pro like that. And then to have a kind of a dream match against Dragunov or Javon. So he didn't say those names. He's saying names where you can live without seeing it. So Yeah, I mean, I'm leaning more towards he's done at the Rumble.
Yeah, it's tough only because it feels like it kind of came out of nowhere,
Right.
like unlike any RKO that's happened in the last year. It just feels like, oh wow, they really are gonna pull the rug out from under us quickly here. But then when you really dig into it, what's left for him to accomplish? Like he doesn't seem to want to do those things that you said. So if that's not if he doesn't feel like working with new people, let him ride out into the sunset. It's a good time for it. It's a nice poetic thing that it's been 10 years since he debuted.
Robert Smith on the Minnesota Vikings. He was on the Randy Moss, Dante Culpepper, Randall Cunningham era, the late 90s, the 15-1 team. Robert Smith just kept getting knee injuries. And he retired younger. He could have gotten another contract. He could have rehabbed and got another, contract. Running backs' careers don't last a long time, but he retired a little bit earlier than people thought. And he was like, I want to walk when I'm in my 50s. Yeah. I have enough money to be happy. I mean, Robert Smith's happy with a library card in a one-room apartment. Like he's a book nerd. He's just he's a very academic guy who happened to be really a really good running back. But so I bring that up because he just basically said, yeah, I could have gone more, but I don't want to risk an injury that's going to take away my ability to enjoy the more than enough money I have already. And it's not the mentality every people have, because some people think it's like, the answer to life is having more money than whoever you choose to compare yourself to, and you just keep moving the goalposts. But with Robert, so with AJ, he's got more money than he ever dreamed of. He's had a good run in WWE. Used up a lot of tread on the tire in TNA. I can just see him going, I don't want to risk another injury. I can tell it's harder. It's more painful. And that might be, he might have said, I can stretch it out to January, but I'm at the end here. I don't want to do more. And they're like, well, let's get through Cena. Then we'll say 2026 is your year, but we won't force you to work more than just into January. I mean, that could end up, there's hints that that's the case at this point. He might just outright, at some point say that. Yeah. So anyway, those are my thoughts on that. Well, yeah.
I was just saying, and with all due respect to AJ Styles, trying to follow up a 1-year retirement tour for John Cena, kind of hard to follow that up with a retirement tour of your own. Like that's not going to land the same way with the general audience.
In a way, it'd be better than what was a bit of a debacle at times of Cena, but it wouldn't be. It's John Cena, and AJ is not John Cena star part wise. It wouldn't have the gravitas. What do you think of Gunther tonight, jumping on the ring apron and then hopping off, and then Kohler Barrett? I think Barrett said, "Oh, he's sending a signal. He picks his own spots. You're not going to decide when he does." When he wrestles. Was that enough tonight?
I think it was enough. I think they've told the story well enough. I thought it was terrific. And I think it was good that AJ pointed out that Gunther has tapped out too. I assume he was talking about tapping out to him and not the tapping out to Jey Uso last year, but you could point to either one.
Yep. All right. Rude Dog says, whenever you say Robert Smith when you're talking about Viking football, I immediately think of The Cure. Yeah, it's like Anthony Edwards. Some people think ER, and it's like, no, I mean the Minnesota Timberwolves. Let's see. Goodfella, just going back to the chats here. Mello versus Miz at Mania. I like AJ against Kenny. We need more than their small Canadian indie show match. It needs the big stage. So that'd be I assume an AEW match. Derek says AJ retiring at the Rumble after debuting 10 years ago bookends his WWE career. Yep, and that is another reason to think it's coming to an end. I just don't want to see him wrestle anyone else. Not everybody needs to work in their 50s. But it's his choice. Goodfella says going out after excellent Nakamura and Gunther match would be great, but I want more. I just don't know if AJ's ready to. AJ, 15, 20 years ago, he was Jovan and Dragunov. Like he was a combination of those two. Does he want to be the guy who can't keep up?
Yeah. There's something to be said for going out on top. And he's going to go out in a very memorable way, no matter what. If it's tomorrow, he's going to go out in a very memorable way.
Paldo repeats says, Prime Styles against Javon, 5 stars in my head. Oh, that'd be so fun. To the 2005, 2006 AJ against Javon now. But,
it's the same talk of Shawn Michaels in his prime versus AJ in his prime. It's just bummer we won't get it, but, it's nice to think about.
Yep. Yeah. Let's see.
You want to do 20 minutes on Axiom versus Gargano?
We'll touch on it, but we got a super chat. Derek Mitchell says, we're about to go to rapid fire to wrap up here. Does anyone remember the last time The Miz won a match? Because I do. He beat JD McDonough on the February 5th, 2024 episode of Raw. Wow.
That's unbelievable.
Wow. Almost 2 years since Miz won a match. That can't be true. I mean, actually, it can be true.
Oh, Derek always has all the stats. He always knows.
I know. Yes. Okay. In no particular order, Carmelo Hayes, Ray Phoenix, U.S. title open challenge. Hayes wins in 15 minutes. What stood out to you on this one?
Ray Phoenix is special. He's got it. Whatever it is, he has it. I thought it was an interesting match in that there were so many near falls, and I'll always be annoyed when there's no one counts early in a match, but I still thought this was excellent. It was just another in a long line of, great U.S. title open challenge matches that keep carrying SmackDown.
All right, Gargano Axiom. You asked for it.
Well, I was kidding.
Well, no, we're not doing 20. I think the 20-minute part, you're kidding. We got to bring it up.
We got 20 seconds, maybe. The one thing I did, Axiom's backstory. Did you catch that when they were saying it in the beginning of the match? Talking about how he was bullied when he was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why he wears a mask. Was that new, or has that been told before?
I don't remember that.
Okay. It made no sense to me, but I appreciated that they were trying something.
Yep.
And I did like the ending to the match. I thought the ending was clever.
Yep.
That's all I got for that.
Yeah, he got unmasked, put his blue mask on. Gargano celebrated pulling his mask off and turned his back to his opponent for way too long. I mean, a little cartoonishly long, but Gargano, I mean, he's fine to be cartoonish in his matches at this point. He's not, a serious guy.
They at least acknowledge that he doesn't have a partner anymore.
Yeah, someone who will not be named.
Right.
The Miz and Dragunov, they gave him 12 minutes. Did Dragunov pull a decent match out of Miz?
I thought so. I mean,
I did too.
Love him or hate him, Miz is still a credible foil for a babyface.
Mm-hmm.
He can get in there. He has good facial expressions. Throughout the match, he was looking like, who is this crazy person I'm wrestling? And he gets his spots in that people recognize. So it's going to work. It's going to work with as long as he's in there with someone else capable, he'll be fine.
Yep.
I enjoyed it. Didn't feel like it dragged.
Yep. I'm with you. I mean, I won't remember the match in 3 weeks. Well, I mean, maybe I will, because it's Miz having a decent TV match that went 12 minutes. But Derek says, I think the match went 5 minutes too long. I wish I didn't hear the referee scream cover when Dragunov covered Miz.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, man. Thanks to Super Chat, by the way, Derek. I always appreciate the Super Chats. Anything else, Eric, on your mind in your notes about the presentation of the show, segments, any quick backstage thing? Are you amused by R-Truth still talking about balls with Nick Aldis as a running gag? Hopefully, since they've done it this long, they should try to do it every week throughout 2026. Just as a self-aware, it's awful. We're going to do it anyway.
Well, if we're on that segment, if I'm Finn Balor watching at home, I'm thinking, how did Priest get in the Rumble? I'm probably wondering that.
Well, Priest did say, I feel like too much is being made of this Adam Pearce thing. Like, Brock called into McAfee, goes, I'm in the Rumble. And people are like, well, I thought it was full. Well, Brock knew for 2 weeks. He just decided to reveal it on McAfee. They didn't list all 30, and then they're switching people out. And with Priest, it sounded like it was something he had previously requested last week, and he just wanted to know if over the weekend Aldis confirmed it, and Aldis, oh yeah, like we got it.
I don't know. Maybe I thought, I could be wrong about this too. I thought Priest said he called Aldis after the Saturday night's main event match when he lost the Fatal 4-Way. I thought he said he called him after that to ask if he could get in the Rumble now, since he wasn't getting the title shot against McIntyre.
So that was Saturday. Raw was Monday. So Sunday, Nick Aldis told Adam Pearce, I filled my spots, and one of them is Priest, and I'll tell Priest on Friday.
And I guess, and to your point also, Aldis has his spots, Pearce has his spots. Presumably they each get 15. Aldis hadn't filled his. But are you a little surprised we got nothing with Balor and Punk tonight? Because I really was starting to wonder if they were going to add another match.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I didn't think necessarily that had to be wedged into the Rumble on short notice.
Right.
In the pay-per-view or WWE Network era, but this era, I think 2 Rumbles and 2 other matches is fine. I think they'll save that. Oh, another Super Chat, by the way. Pile Driver Pete, thank you. Derek Mitchell outspent you by 1 cent in the Super Chat, but he says, happy Royal Rumble Eve, one of my favorite times of year. Thank you, Pile Driver Pete, for that very much. Did we have anyone else look at their number in a tumbler other than the bit with our truth and then Priest? Was there? Did they do others?
That was the only one I saw.
That's so weird.
We still have no idea if Truth's in it. Where I guess we can presume no, but I don't know.
What? But why have one guy draw a number out of a tumbler and not do it with anybody else? Like, it's just, that's the weird part. Like, that's a fun part. Kelly Wells and I talked about the different things they do some years and not others. And I think having people look at a number and react to it is kind of part of the fun of Rumble season.
Well, I want to cross my fingers and hope that since there's only 4 matches tomorrow, that they'll do a lot of it tomorrow. Or maybe we'll get lucky and they'll actually do the quick 10-second videos where people talk about why they're going to win, which inexplicably they still don't do. But I imagine we'll get a lot of segments with Pierce and Aldis and the lottery ball thing or whatever you want to call it tomorrow. Otherwise it made no sense. Like, did they just feel that they had to get Priest on the show somehow?
Yeah.
Have him declare that he's in it. So it was a little strange.
It was. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm listening to like come up with it, and unless there's going to be a spot with Priest and Truth, but I don't think so.
Tumblr. Thank you, Real Legend. I couldn't remember what it was called.
Yes.
And I did check last year. They had 5 matches at the Rumble last year. So there's room for something, but who knows?
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else you want to add, Eric?
No, I think we covered it all. I mean, the one thing I think we figured out is that it's exciting. There's a lot going on and it's pretty unpredictable.
Yep.
I think Jey Uso winning last year has a ripple effect too, because we don't know who's going to win. And I think that's a great place to be.
All right. Well, we don't want to talk too much longer. The Rumble will start because they're starting early. There's not a lot of time for people on the podcast side to listen to this. So let's get this off to the producer, get it posted. We'll wrap up there. Thank you, everybody. Go VIP if you want to hear the roundtable. VIP exclusive roundtable. We've been doing those for 20 plus years. And when you go VIP, you get access to our VIP podcast on a podcast feed, which includes the Patreon ecosystem. You can unlock a 7-day free trial right now. Patreon.com/PWTorch VIP. Patreon.com/PWTorch VIP. You can also search PWTorch in Spotify, and that will also open up a 7-day free trial. Otherwise, you can get a full VIP membership or details on all the options to sign up at pwtorch.com/govip. pwtorch.com/govip. I think you'll love VIP membership. Just a nice, smooth, clean, advertisement-free version of our free shows. The commercial breaks just get skipped right past, so it's a nice streamlined listening experience. And then also an ad-free website, and that website is full of rabbit holes and archives going back to the late 1980s, and just a ton of great podcast and radio show content on demand. Hundreds of retro radio shows from the 90s, over 2 decades of podcasts, new VIP exclusive content throughout the week, including the new Wade Keller news bulletins, which are both 3 formats: an all-text version, the native PDF version that looks great on a laptop or tablet with a landscape view with a top story, news and notes, including some insider scoops, and my end notes with some random thoughts on a topic on my mind, and that I also read that out loud as a podcast. So whatever format you like, they're all presented in multiple ways. Lots of good content. Check it out. pwtorch.com/govip. And we'll talk to you Saturday after the Rumble on the VIP side of things. And then Greg Parks will be hosting the post show on the PWTorch YouTube channel after the Rumble. Thanks again, everybody. Thanks to my co-host, Eric Corbridge. Be sure to check out his Kickstarter. Search Bad Will through February 14th for the Bad Will Kickstarter. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.